Hey, family, welcome back with Micah and Daryl. I call him Red, rooted in love. So, we it's probably been a it's been a week. It hasn't been a week yet. We posted a video on Friday, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out and just know that it was never about the bookshelf. But that was last week's
Was
video.
that the last
That was
video?
last. Yeah, that was the last video. It was never about the bookshelf. Don't be laughing. Why are you laughing?
No, that's funny.
So
Yeah.
anyway, but we're back to talk about more stuff, bring you into our space, have a real conversation, and
Absolutely.
hopefully encourage you to have real conversations with your partner. So yeah.
Actually, I have something to talk about and share.
Okay.
I was listening to the morning prayer on yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and the pastor said something that drew a thought in my mind.
Okay.
And I think that it would be something that everyone can relate to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you this question first.
Mm.
The first time I said, I love you,
Okay.
what came to your mind?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because if you remember, and this is going to sound crazy to people who are watching,
Hey.
but the first time you said you love me, you didn't actually say it.
Right.
Remember?
Right. Exactly. You're exactly right.
So if I use that as the first time.
Yes. Go for it.
Okay. So for those of y'all watching who are like, what? That don't even make sense. How he say he loved her, but he didn't even say the words. I think we was visiting your parents when they lived in Detroit.
Yes.
And we were at a party or something at this big house. We call it the big house.
We was at my mom's co-worker's house.
Yes.
They had a nice big house.
They did. And we was turned up in the basement doing whatever we was doing.
Right.
But this is going to sound corny and it's going to sound like the movies, but I promise y'all this is exactly how it happened. So we was down there chilling or doing whatever, and we locked eyes. Like, I don't know what the conversation was before that or if we were even talking before that, but it's like we caught each other's eye and not a word was spoken. And you actually did say, I love you, because we just looked at each other and it was like in the movies, it'd be all googly eyes or whatever. And he said, you don't even have to say it. I love you too. So you did actually say
That's what I said.
You said you don't even have to say it. I love you too.
And I said, you don't even have to say it.
I remember that.
I love you too.
That was the bomb. That was cute or whatever. Like, ooh, that's like a movie.
That was original.
Anyway, pimping. So with that being said, the question is, how did I feel? That was the question, right? How did I feel the first time you said you love me? Because I did just take y'all on a ride.
That was a good journey, but yes.
Okay. I don't know. I think I was scared.
Okay.
And maybe scared isn't the word, like, kind of hesitant.
Okay.
One, because as you know, in that moment, I wanted to say it and I was feeling all the feels.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, So then when you actually said it, it was confirmation.
Yeah.
I guess. So I felt confirmation, like, oh, okay, he feel the same way I feel. Ooh. And I was like, oh, I got this one. I got him. But no, I would say maybe it was it was confirmation. I felt reassured.
Okay.
And it felt real, because anybody who knows me knows that I wasn't really like an all-in relationship kind of girl. I wasn't really looking for that. And so, and how I thought about you, because let's keep it a buck. Use for the streets. True or false?
You
was for the streets. And
you
so
are on it.
I'm on it. So, so when you said it, like I said, it was confirmation. I think it was reassurance. And I think there was a feeling of safety in that.
Okay.
So I felt safe in that, or secure. That might be a better way to say that.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I felt. Am I allowed to ask the question back?
That's good. But sure.
Well, no, was you gonna say something? Did you have a
No,
different
I'm
thought?
just saying that's good. What you were saying.
What you
were
thought?
saying. Huh?
You said, "Oh shoot."
No. But like you said, one, it was a time and place that was awkward. The time and place.
It was random.
It was very random.
It was.
We're at a house party with my parents and their friends. Was it a holiday weekend or something?
I don't know. You know, we used to go to Detroit all the time, so I don't know. It could have been, but I don't know.
That had to be around, if I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna say 2000 and somewhere between 2004, 2005, or
It'd
maybe
be 2003.
3.
It'd be between 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here was this is what's so crazy to me, because I was separated and divorced in 2002. One, two.
I don't
can't
know.
Get my
You
years.
had to look at the paperwork.
2000.
When was September 11?
Was that 2002?
When was September 11?
I'm not sure.
Because that would be when I moved back to Columbus.
Yeah. So sometime around 2001 to 2002, I was recently divorced.
I know it was before we went on our first date. I know that.
Well, we'll get to that part too, because I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
But that was my first time being like single in like a long time since my
divorce.
Well, no, that was the first. Well, divorce was the first time I was single
since your 20s, probably, right?
Since
dang,
yeah.
You missed out on a lot, or not.
But so for me, I was like, okay, I'm single now. It felt like a new world. I'm in a new world. Like, gotta move overseas to a whole new country or something.
Stop.
And right, you was back home, 2001, 2002, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
You was back home. I'll speed the story up, skip some things. And I know it was in September when I was officially separated.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think sometime around October, November, maybe, is when I asked you out.
No, you asked me out. It was around probably September, October. You asked me out around September, October, because me and Vito went to a comedy show that you guys were at. I was okay, so because people are gonna be like, where are we going with this? Because I feel like we all over the place. When I moved back, you and I got back in touch because I wear my hair short. So when I moved back to Columbus, I'm like, where can I go get a haircut? And I ended up at the barbershop. And you was on some, hey, we do this and we do that, just on some, we cool and we kick it, because you know I used to kick it. So it was just on some, my people be over here. I got people that got a club. If you're looking for something to do, here are all the things. I'm like, all right, that's cool. And then at some point, like, I want to say it might have been October.
That's why I said
it might have been October, November,
because I know I was traveling and I was going some places.
Yeah,
and
I'm trying to get my cookies. But carry on.
No. So it was closer to October.
Yeah,
actually closer to November, because eventually, when I asked you to go out to dinner or whatever, we just plan on doing movies or whatnot. You said,
tell the people what I said.
You said we can go out after you get those divorce papers.
Well, no, because you told me you were divorced, and I said that's
separated.
Oh,
yeah, no. I was separated.
Okay, I thought you told me you were divorced, because I said that's fine. Bring your papers with you when you take me on the date.
Yeah, it was separated because you was more like, I don't care if you separated,
Mm-mm.
you're not officially divorced.
That's not
So,
how I get down.
Yeah. And I got divorced not the divorce was official in December.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think we went on our first date in January. Because you picked me up from my mom's house and I wouldn't let you, I didn't get in the car until you showed me the papers. You came to the door and I'm like, okay, where's the papers? And you had to go back to the truck and bring the papers.
And you said I picked you up from your mom's house.
Because I had moved back to my mom.
But anyway, so I'm single and newly divorced, and I have been in that relationship since I was like 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And now I am around 32, 33.
32.
Yeah, 32.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a whole new world for me. And
a whole new world. Okay, sorry.
So I'm like, oh, I don't, know how this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm out in them streets.
Baby, with no training wheels, no restrictions, no curfew.
Right.
Nada.
And then you came along. And all I wanted to do was go to the movies or go have some dinner.
And we did.
We did.
Then what happened? He got hooked.
So it was so crazy because I remember I was going to Florida in January.
You were.
And I invited you to go.
And what I say?
You like, nah.
Try to get my cookies.
Nope. So I'm like, all right, boom. Mm-hmm. Now, we started dating. Some years went by. Mm-hmm. So now we took a trip to Detroit to visit my parents. We hanging out at their friend's house, and we sitting there, and we so happened to look at each other, and we was like stuck, like Chuck. And I was like, you don't have to say it. I love you too.
You sure did. It was really a movie moment. I ain't even gonna lie. Like in that moment, I felt like you could see through my soul. Yeah. Like it was like, and we like locked eyes and did not look away. And it probably wasn't no more than 7 seconds, but it felt like 30. You know what I'm saying? Like it probably wasn't that long, but we really was locked in. Are you locked in? Okay, sorry. We was locked in.
So for me, it felt like I was in the Matrix for real.
I could see that.
I felt like, is this real? Is this real? One, because of our history. Like we was friends before. Mm-hmm.
And we both knew a little bit about each other.
Right. I knew about your past. You knew about my past.
I was a golden child. I don't know what you mean.
And I was
I was an angel.
And I was
a quiet, virgin almost.
I was a quiet boy.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. We knew each other's past.
So it wasn't like I was coming to you fronting and pretending to be somebody I wasn't, because you knew exactly who I was.
Indeed.
And you didn't come fronting acting like, oh, I'm just over here minding my business and
reading hymnals.
Yeah. So you didn't come to me with no front and faking and hiding and no pretending.
Right.
But hanging out with you for over those years, I started to see a different side of you than I knew. Mm-hmm. Right. I saw a different side of you that I wasn't aware of. And I'm like, this chick is really cool. Like, you was cool already, but it's a different type of cool. Mm-hmm. It's like you cool to the point of I can be around you all the time.
Right? She kind of dope. We're trying to tell you.
Right. I'm like, dang, I really can be around her all the time. So I'm sitting there stunned, like, and I'm analyzing. And I'm like, you just came around and fit right in like you always been there. You know what I mean? So I feel like you always been there, and that you fit around. You fit in the places and spaces where I would be at, like like being at my mom's and dad's and kicking it with their friends. Like you was right there, like
like I had always been there.
Like you had always been.
That's
there.
real, and it felt like that.
And that's that feeling. I felt like you was always you always been there. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
You
that's
took
what
a long way to get there, but you got there.
the beauty of it is because I was reliving it
Okay,
while I was
I
thinking
like
about
that.
it, and it was feeling good. You know,
So you
to
want
go
to
back,
sit in it.
go back. You know, 20 plus years.
That's dope.
Yeah. So now I believe, excuse me, there are a
Told you it was
lot of
bedtime.
couples, a lot of people
Mhm.
who start a relationship and then they start getting into the deeper part of the relationship. And one person may say, I love you. The other person may respond with, I love you too.
Mhm.
Or they might respond back like, really though? Or, oh, okay. Or wherever it may be.
Mhm.
But listening to the morning prayer that morning, there was a lot of good comments and stuff, you know, because that was mentioned into the morning prayer.
Mhm.
But the thing about it is, what expectations did you have for me when I said I love you? Or what did that mean
Mhm.
to you? And vice versa. Like,
Mhm.
and I don't think we consider those things. And I don't think most people consider the expectation part of when somebody
Mm.
tell you I love you.
So the question is, what expectations did I have in the moment once
If any.
that you love me? I think I did have expectations. And if I'm being honest and transparent, I think those expectations may have been superficial and or formed by what I knew love was or
Right.
wasn't. Does that make sense? So in my mind, if you love me, you're going to respect me. That's an expectation.
Mhm.
Well, it's an
Mhm.
expectation. Doesn't mean you're going to, but it's an expectation. When you say you love me, there is a level of care that I was expecting you to handle me with.
Mhm.
And I think I had that expectation in the moment when you said it, right?
Yeah.
I would even argue that we had a conversation, not immediately after, but like, here's what these things mean,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I would say, yes, I had an expectation, and those things aren't superficial. I'm not saying those two things are superficial, but there's some other things where it's like, I don't know. I'd have to think about the other little stuff, but you're going to respect me. There's a level of care that you're going to handle me with. And then I think I also had an expectation that you would protect me in some way, because for me, that's what love means. And that comes from how I said, how I saw love, what I saw it being or not being.
Right.
And I've been in spaces where love is not protection.
Right.
And I was like, that's non-negotiable for me.
Even after experiencing that, you still had that expectation of me to do so.
Even after experiencing what?
That you didn't
Yes.
find protection in love.
Yes.
Okay.
Whomever my partner is, if you tell me you love me, then if you love me, there is an expectation that you respect me, that you care for me in a certain manner, and that you protect me.
Are we speaking today, or are we speaking that's how you felt back then?
That's how I felt then.
Okay, I just want to clear
That's
that
how
up.
I felt
Okay.
then.
Okay, cool.
Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Was that communicated to you in that way back then?
That's
I think
question?
2 of the
Okay.
3 were.
At some point.
That's fair.
At some point.
That's fair.
Later, after you probably was upset about something I did.
After you didn't protect me, love me, didn't protect me, respect me, or care for me in a certain way.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's very possible. So that's true.
That's good.
What about you?
So I'm gonna go back to early 2000. With my understanding of love back then, early 2000 was somebody who loved me, ride with me. And what does that mean? That mean it's funny because I'm even ashamed to go back there and talk like this.
It is what it is.
So coming from the places and spaces where I hung out back then.
Okay.
and the music I listened to back then.
Okay. Take the people where you taking them, babe. Just get them to it. Get them to it.
Oh man. So one, my family dynamics, like large families,
It's a bunch of y'all.
bunch of us, and how we love each other is, you know, we love you
regardless.
Regardless, we love you. And that's
and all your foolishness
and all
everything.
your foolishness.
Yes.
And we expect you to be
foolish. Yeah. Yes, God.
But we love you though. So that's was my understanding of love back then, as well as when it came to the places, spaces I hung out and the people I hung out and hung around with. It was that same type of love. Like, what's that song with Jay-Z and
I knew he was gonna get a song. We was gonna get some lyrics.
Foxy Brown.
What they say, babe?
When he's asked her, like, if I had to go to court, would you lie for me? You know what I mean? That's the type of mentality I had back then. Like, it don't matter what am I here doing. I need you to love me and ride with me and stand up for me. You know what I mean? And thank God that nothing happened back then, because, you know, you'd have been like, I
was going to ask you, did you feel like that's how I was showing up? Because I think I made it crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
Absolutely
I ain't going to jail for nobody.
Not a man, not a nada. Absolutely not.
That is funny.
Well, but not only that, if you remember, in order for you to date me, I was clear.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when you came into the space, you were still kind of foolish, and we'll just call it that.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, if you are trying to be in relationship with me, it's some things you got to let go.
Yeah.
So I was already not ride or die out the gate. Like, yeah, no, not doing that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Now, otherwise, you know, in our household, we was always taught that God loves all his children. And that he's a forgiving and loving God. So that's what I knew and understood, and that's what I expected as well, is that we love the same way, where God is a forgiving and loving God. Now, of course, over the years, I done learned some things. You know, I learned it's a little deeper than that. I learned a lot more, but really think and wonder how many people still enter into a relationship that same way, or how many people are in a relationship today and been in a relationship for 20 years and still carry on that same old mentality, you know, that they started off with.
Well, you got to think about it too, right? Because if you were to ask our 12-year-old kids what love feels like, it's going to be based in something superficial, right? Like, it's butterflies and it's whatever is warm and fuzzy, how they show you romantic on TV, right? What love is on TV is just like this. He bought me flowers on a Tuesday. Like, okay, that's cute or whatever. That's not me, right? But when you really think of what love is, so like how you were saying, how your family loves you even through your foolishness, I believe that is in fact love, but also love is correction.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you can be a fool and I can love you, your foolish self. But if I really love you, I don't we don't stop there. There's correction or there's redirection or right. Like if I love you, I ain't going to let you just keep being a fool and meet your end. Right. If I really love you, just like with your kids, if I really love you, I'm going to put you on a different path or redirect you. But I done lost my train of thought that fast because I went somewhere different than where I wanted to go. But I think what I'm saying is when you're asking how many people are in relationship right now that have that idea, how we think about love is shaped in so many ways by what we see, be it TV and I aspire to that and it's not real.
Yeah.
Be it your family, depending on how love looked in your family dynamic, right? Because when I think about my mom and dad today versus my grandmother and her husband. And it's so funny. I knew that my grandma and granddaddy loved each other, but I don't know that I ever saw them say it to each other. And it's funny because they would just bicker, but it's like, oh, woman. He would always call it, oh, woman. But me, the way we saw that was like, oh, they just he being pesky. You know what I'm saying? Like it was cute. So it depends on how you see love. And then when I think about how I hear stories about my grandmother and my granddad, because my mom is the youngest of 7, and she was kind of like a oops baby. Sorry, mom, I love you. But in saying that, we're the youngest grandkids. And so my cousins are 10 years my senior. Right. You know what I'm saying? I think I have one other cousin who's like 3 years older than me. But so when you look at that, there are experiences that my aunts and uncles have about my grandmother and granddaddy that my mom doesn't have. Right. So they knew their relationship early on, and my granddaddy wasn't always the granddaddy I remembered. Yeah, yeah. And I hear them tell stories and how my grandmother loved him through his foolishness. And she did. That praying woman, yes, she did. But I'll never know that. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So my aunts and uncles that saw that have a different understanding of what love should be versus perhaps what my mom grew up understanding love. So I say that to say people are probably in relationship now or going to enter into relationship now with not understanding what expectation comes with love. Yeah. One, because who's talking about what the expectation is that comes with love? Right. And who's teaching you that? Yeah. So that was a long way to get there. Sorry.
No, that was good. That was very good. And it brought a thought to my mind is that a lot of people don't even know what true love is. Like I can say that about myself. Once again, at the time when I said I love you and I felt I love you, that was based on my understanding of love at that time. But what I learned over these 20 years is that it's much deeper than that. And one, it starts with loving yourself, right? And a lot of people say, because I said this, I love myself. You know what I mean? I love myself. But my actions didn't
align with that.
Align with what I was saying. You know what I mean? Because I'll be the first one to stick my chest way out here and talk about how much I love myself, you know, how real I am and this and that. But then if I look back over the years and the things that I have done, how can I truly say I love myself when I put myself in positions that could have, you know, caused me to lose my life, you know, in many ways, you know what I mean? And in putting myself in situations that was very harmful to myself, right? So I wasn't protecting myself. I wasn't being a protector of me. So where was the love with that? You know, I wasn't respecting I wasn't respecting me. You know, I was disrespecting myself, you know. So where was the love in that? So that just goes to show I had a lack of understanding what true love is. Because just like you said, if I love you, I'm going to be your protector, right? I'm going to respect you, right?
And you're going to care for me.
I'm going to care for you. So how can I do those things for you
if you can't do it for yourself?
If I couldn't do it for myself, right? And I wasn't doing it for myself at times. So how am I going to turn around and be able to do those things for you? And I think that's where a lot of people get confused because we have our guide crew and we preach and teach and talk and, you know, we loyal to each other. We've been friends since knee high and
CMB.
Y'all we're respectful and all these things.
Right.
But how are we protecting each other
Mm-hmm.
or respecting each other and caring for each other if we're not doing it to ourselves? Because we all put ourselves in some real bad situation,
Mm-hmm.
and it cost us some things,
Mm-hmm.
right? It cost us some things, and I know many of us, if we talk about it, we have some regrets.
Mm-hmm.
We regret the things we had to move past them and move on, but we regret the things that we got involved in, the things we were doing, because we look at ourselves now and say we could accomplish a lot more had we used our talents and gifts
Mm-hmm.
in other places.
Right.
I'm sure we'd be better off and in a better place mentally, one,
Mm-hmm.
because
That's a heavy load to carry.
it's a heavy load to carry. And when you look back at it, you like, man, like now we got kids, and we all realize everything we do, it can help or hurt our kids.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And I know there's some things that I've done that took away from
Mm-hmm.
the older kids.
Your older babies.
Right. So had I lived a different lifestyle, it'd have been more helpful than them.
Mm-hmm. You would have planted more fruitful seeds.
There it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the goal is things that we see and experience, we can use to help our kids advance into positions that they trying to get to, or help them reach their goals in an easier way. Just like when you leave, assets,
Mm-hmm.
or financials, or financial situations and things for your kids, is for them to be better. It's the same thing with some of our experiences.
But I'll take it a step further too, because I didn't want to interrupt you, but I want to go back to the point where you were talking about your homeboys and y'all talk about loyalty and protection and all of the things, right? But even in that space, whatever space where you're saying you love someone, you have to define what those things mean, right? So when I say to you, to love me means to respect me, it means to care for me in a certain manner, and it means to protect me. I still have to define what respect, care, and protection mean. So if you remember, we had a little tiff, and I would always tell you, I don't feel protected. And you like, what you mean you don't feel protected? Like, I'm here. Like, in your mind, it was about physical protection. Remember that?
Right.
Or we talked about the covering me, but specifically in protection. In your mind, protection was about physical protection. The doors are locked. If somebody come, I'm here. Like, and if I'm out with my friends, like, what that mean? I got to be at your side every minute of every day. It's like, that's not what I'm saying.
Use your own voice.
I know, I'm sorry, because I do act like you. But if I did sound like him, if y'all listen,
no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
But anywho, so protection for you, you didn't even understand what that meant. And I had, and even when I would try to explain it to you, because the lens that you are drawing from is so narrow, even in me explaining it, you couldn't understand it, right? Because I'm like, protect me. It's not just physical, protect my heart, protect my emotions, right? Protect me spiritually. Like, I was looking for protection in a bigger realm than just physical. But I'm saying that to say that even when I say to you that protection means love for me, I still have to spell that out for you and make sure that we understand what that means. Because again, in our relationship, you didn't. And it wasn't until you started doing your counseling and your work that you're like, you had a light bulb moment, like, oh,
yeah,
that's what you mean.
Well, one, I had to change my mindset.
There's that.
Because
you
I
wasn't
was
trying to hear me.
When you spend years of creating this person you become, it takes time to recreate that person and become a better version of yourself.
Unlearn and relearn.
Exactly. So there were some things that I had to break down,
Mhm.
and go back and look at it from a different perspective,
Mhm.
other than mine, because my mind was all the way made up.
Mhm.
And it's no secret, I am one of those people who you can't you can't pee on me and tell me it's raining outside. You know,
Okay.
I mean, you just can't. I'm just not gonna sit back and just
You're not.
take in anything
The
from
great
anybody.
debater is going
I'm gonna
to.
debate it. I'm gonna
Yes, he
analyze it,
is.
and I'm gonna give it some thought. It might take a second for me to listen to you, like truly listen to people, because
Mm-hmm.
I just don't trust people like that.
Mm-hmm.
I had an experience,
Mm-hmm.
and it caused me not to trust people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. Until this day, it's hard for me to trust people. So, and some people like, you think you know everything. Well, one, of course, nobody knows everything, right? But I try to talk about things I know and stay away from things I don't know. For one, for two, I just don't listen to everybody. So
We know.
that's that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on, right? Um, so yeah, you shared with me about the way you see life, and what you need from me. It was challenging for you. It took You had some things you had to break through to get to me,
Mm.
because on top of what I just shared, there was times where I had to spin like in protection mode of myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you screaming for protection, and I'm like, I'm protecting you, but I'm only protecting you the way I know how to protect
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's a good lesson right there for
Mm-hmm.
people who are watching and listening. Um, love is about protecting that person you claim you love. Love is about protecting yourself. Love is about caring for that person that you love.
Mm-hmm.
And first and foremost, caring about yourself, respecting yourself, respecting that person.
Mm-hmm.
First comes with loving yourself, because you only can
Mm-hmm.
love somebody the way you love yourself. So if you have a lack of understanding what love is, you have a lack of understanding and a lack of compassion and love for that person.
Well, and not even that. You only gonna be able to love someone to the degree that you love yourself, right? So when you think about, or how you said, you didn't love yourself, or one could argue that you loved yourself to the degree that you understood love,
Which is
right? So it's not necessarily I did or I didn't. It could also be I did in a limited way. I loved myself in a
right. Let's be
limited way,
clear. Yeah,
right? And so, but that's something for people who are not in relationship, that are thinking about being in relationship. Look at how that individual treats themselves.
right.
How do they talk to themselves? Right? How do they
Think of themselves.
think of themselves? Because you can hear it. It be signs.
Yeah,
It be
yeah,
some signs,
yeah,
baby.
yeah.
But I would say, like, it's looking at, like I said, it's not always, oh, I didn't love myself at all. It's I love myself to the degree that I understood love.
Yeah.
Because as we said, you're taught love, right?
Yeah.
Like you grow up in love or not.
Yeah.
Because for some people, love is abuse.
Yeah.
Now, not condoning it. I don't want it to come across that way. I'll say drama. Love is drama. Let's not say abuse. Love is drama, because that's horrible. But some people are like, well, if he ain't hollering and screaming, if we ain't arguing, if I ain't getting this energy, he don't love me. I've seen it, right? Where there are women who want that argument. And if you ain't arguing with them, then it's like, well, he don't care about me. Like, But if you grew up in that, that's what love looks like.
And that's why I defined it as one, either lack of understanding of what true love is. Earlier in the conversation, I said a lot of people have a lack of understanding what true love is.
That's okay.
And then also a lot of
Excuse me.
people have an understanding of what love is to them because they only can go by what they experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt like that's what I'm saying. I felt like I was at a place one time where when I look at love today, it's not what I looked at how love is 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
I do.
So I believe there's a lot of people who stuck there and they're going to say, no, I love myself. In reality, your reality, and your reality, you believe that. You see it that way. Can't take that away from you. But do some work and let me know how you feel 5 years, 10 years from there. And let me know if you still feel that same exact way.
So let me ask you a question. Being that you were someone who felt like you loved yourself and you felt like you showed up in a way that carried that energy, I love myself energy.
Right.
And then you're now saying you've come to this realization some years later that, wow, I really didn't love myself like I thought I did.
Right.
So the first question is, when you thought you loved yourself and you were showing up that way, what did that look like?
That's a good question.
And feel like?
It takes me a minute to process.
Process, baby.
But what come to my mind at this time, what that looked like back then, it was a feeling I got when people acknowledged me.
So it was external.
It was external. So I made sure that I kept up my persona that I created, you know, to get the claps and to get the cheers, like in the movie Paid in Full.
If you don't stop quoting songs and B-rated movies.
Bam. Money Mitch said, he don't know nothing but hustle. He said, plus he be feeling like Bird, Magic, or one of them NBA cats. Then he said, if I quit, will the fans still love me?
Why are you acting it out like you really in the movie? Though?
So that hit me.
I see.
Matter of fact, that whole movie
spoke to
like
your
my
soul.
life. That whole movie from beginning, that whole movie is like my life.
Okay.
At that time, back then. Because I can relate to that because, you know, going from in high school, sharing clothes with your brother, and wearing your friends' clothes to school, to I can buy anything I see and want. And when I bought it, it was like the love came from all over the place. It was like, I don't want this to ever stop. And keep yawning. That's when I feel like I started loving myself more than that guy that was in high school. You see what I'm saying?
So it was attached to things and external validation.
It was like I gave myself a power. And I feel like I love myself for giving me that power.
Got it.
So I had more confidence, and I was willing to do more, try more. You know what I mean?
You weren't trying to be invisible.
Not at all. So, and then after my situation happened where, that stuff went away. It wasn't like it used to be. Now,
little hiccup.
I fell down. I didn't fall off. I just fell down.
Yeah, a little hiccup.
Fell down, but never fell off.
Once or twice.
So, that changed. You know what I mean?
Did it though?
For me, like I went back to, okay, I'm gonna play the back a little bit because that confidence I
You
had.
ain't have it like
It
you
kind
used
of.
to.
That's why I said I fell down, but
Yeah.
I ain't fall off. You know.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, played the back row a little bit.
Was that before or after I met you?
This was before.
Oh, okay, because you wasn't. I
Well,
was. It wasn't giving
well, I
background vibes.
started to, that's why I said I fell down, but
Got
I
you.
didn't fall off.
Got
So
you.
I just
Got you.
kind of
Got you.
stood up a little bit, but
Mm.
I ain't stand all
You
the way
ain't
back
all the
up.
way in the front.
Yeah,
Got it.
I stood back up a little. I started standing up a little bit more, started standing up a little bit more, but I ain't just jump back out there because I'm like, okay, there's some other people trying to shine, whatnot. So I don't want all the spotlight,
And it wasn't that you didn't want all the spotlight. Given the current condition, you didn't want the spotlight,
right?
because
So
you didn't have
it's a
it
little shine
like
here
you're
and there,
used to
you know what I
having
mean?
it.
A little shine here and there, and so once again, I wasn't learning what true love is about. I was still only, honing in on the love that I was aware of.
Gotcha. So that raises a different question. This is going to be a long recording, but that raises a different question for me because I'm the polar opposite.
Okay.
I don't have to shine.
Right?
Right? So because sometimes, for example, you be mad because I don't really be caring a whole lot about how people see me or what I look like when I mean, I ain't in bonnets, but at the same time, I don't gotta be 3 fine to walk out the door. You know what I'm saying? I'm a sweatsuit, tennis shoes. We gonna go do what we do. Right?
And she'll wear a muumuu.
I will wear a muumuu, and I will record it a muumuu if my husband would let me, but he won't. So I say that to say, you being someone who you felt like you loved yourself, and the way that you felt like that is because you gave yourself power in this external validation and you needed that external validation, right?
Right.
Connecting with someone who does not care about what other people think at all.
Right.
And can say that confidently, like you've seen it in practice, right? I don't need the external validation. I don't look for it. And I'd be in the mirror hyping my own self up. You've seen it. You've seen
Shine
it.
a light on her.
I sure will. So how does connecting with someone like me, like, does that at the time, right? Did that trigger anything or make you feel any kind of way? Like, because I do remember there was a time, the glasses, when you bought some Cartier glasses and spent $600 to get the frame, not the frames, the lenses, not the, like, you bought the Cartiers and then you paid $600 out of our HSA account to get the lenses. And we got 2 kids that wear hearing aids.
So
and some other stuff. No, hold on. And when you got them, and I'm like, my first response was, you spent $600 on these glasses? But what you were looking for was, oh, your glasses look nice. Remember that?
Yes, that's what I was looking for. That's what I didn't get, but that's what I was looking for.
I don't care about no daggone glasses.
And it was at the end of the year, so we had money we had to spend.
It would have carried over till the next year. Don't do me.
I could have paid it out of my pocket. Then you would have said, well, why didn't you just pay that out of that?
No, $600 for some lenses. I don't care where the money was coming from. I was going to have a problem with it. Period. But I'm saying that to say, because for me, I need glasses to see. Yeah. So I'm going to go get me some frames and I'm going to go to Costco and have Costco put the lens in the frames. And
they couldn't do.
I'm just saying, right? For me, it's I need glasses to see, not I need fancy, expensive glasses for people to notice.
Yeah.
You feel me? Mm-hmm. That's the difference. And so I guess I'm asking you, when you come, someone who has your experience or needs love the way that you needed it at the time, connecting with someone who does not show love in that way, or need it that way. Mm-hmm. How was that for you adjusting, or was it adjusting?
It was very hard. That's a great question, a good topic, because that was very hard. Because one, you know how I was, I changed it, but my money was my money.
It was.
And I'm gonna spend it
how I want to.
I work for it. I'm gonna spend it how I want to spend it. and
Indeed.
I'm not selfish, so I'm gonna spend some on you too.
Mm-hmm.
But you was like, I don't need nothing. I don't want this. I don't want that.
Mm-mm.
But over the years, it took a while, but over the years, I've learned some things. So in the beginning, it's like, okay, well, if you don't want this or you don't want that, then that's on you. But
I'm getting it.
I'm gonna buy what I want because, you know,
Yes, you did.
I still have some pain that when I asked my dad for some shoes, and it was probably about $5, and they probably could have gone for $2 because they probably was some Pickway or some buy one get one
I
free.
can't.
And he said they cost too much.
Right.
That broke my little heart. I probably was about 12 or 13 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I started shoveling every driveway I can find and cut every grass I can cut. And I said I would never ask nobody else to buy me nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I would never ask nobody else to buy me anything, clothes wise, shoes, and from there. So you was dealing with about a good 20 years of pain, and I'm gonna buy it. So it was it was one of those things where, you know, it was hard because I wasn't gonna just adjust or budge at all.
You weren't.
But over time, I kind of slowed down just a little bit because I was, you know, one, seeing how you would, treat yourself at certain times, not every single day, you know, like, hey, we did X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna treat myself to this.
So self-awareness makes you aware of everything around you. So there were things that I thought about you or that I thought were true before you got to it, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, as much as you would be like, I just like nice things, I like to look nice. At the end of the day, you stunting for your daddy. Like how you said, it's validation. You showing up a certain way gives you a level of power or presence that other people will notice and validate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of sensed that and noticed it, whether you acknowledged it or not. But to me, it was, let me put on my makeup like a woman, right? Let me put on my makeup so I can get cute and I can get fine and the people can see me.
I like a different analogy.
Okay, you don't like makeup?
No.
You don't like makeup?
No.
But that's what we say. Like dudes who have to have a car, because you used to always be like, I like nice things. And I would always, like, I never said it to you, but the question I would ask is why?
Yeah.
Because there's always a deeper root. You know what I'm saying?
It's
and
a combo. It's a combo
like
to it. Yeah.
The reason is growing up, you didn't have a whole lot and all of the things. And for you, if I can have it, I'm going to get it because 12-year-old me couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But the combo part is, one, yes, I do like affirmations. But two, I was the kid that had to hide back and like, don't look at what I got on. You know what I mean? And I don't want to hide. And when you put on those nice, fresh garments, it's a good feeling. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know, it is a good feeling. And we dug deep into it. The feeling's like a power, or I can stand up tall, I can feel confident, and you know. So yeah, it's a combo of things. Okay. But yeah, they come from a place.
They come from, everything comes from a place. It stems from somewhere.
It comes from a place. But it's crazy because those experiences shape the way that you love, or the lack of love you have for yourself, or the level of love that you have for yourself. And then that pours over into, you know, your significant other, your spouse, whoever you in a relationship with, because you only gonna give someone
what you have
and what you understand. So a lot of times, if people are looking for a lot of love and this person only got a little bit of love, it's because they only understand a little bit love. They don't understand what a lot of love is, or they don't understand what a high level of love is compared to a low level of love, or another way to put it is true love versus some
Superficial love?
superficial love. You know?
But when you say true love too, right? So beyond loving yourself, I would go even farther to say it's a God love.
Well, that's what I would
Right.
define. I know everybody have their own definition, but I would
Absolutely.
define that as a godly like love. When I say true love, meaning like, you know, that agape love.
Mhm. But some people I don't think can even understand how God sees them or loves them.
Right.
And if you can't see that, then
brings
how
it
do you
together.
see it yourself?
That brings it.
That's
it
what I'm
together.
trying to say.
Yep, that totally brings it together. That some people can't even see how God
Yeah.
loves them. But that's a good point because there are people who think that God don't love them, and if you think God don't love you, how much do you really love yourself then?
Mm.
And if you don't love yourself like that, and then you go get involved in a relationship with someone, what are you offering them? That non-loving mindset, attitude that you have, that's what you bringing to them.
And potentially tearing them down and creating a space where they now don't love themselves also. Right?
So you have two unloving people together just clashing and banging heads all day long.
It's interesting though, because we got so much to talk about, but we got to wrap this up because there's the statement that you attract who you are. So if you are a person who does not love yourself, how are you attracting someone who does? You get what I'm saying? So it's like, does the person that says they love themselves really love themselves? If you were able to penetrate their zone?
Right.
Because you attract who you are. It's some version of you. So now you got me over here looking at myself like, ooh, wait a minute.
You don't know? You lying to yourself?
It's possible. It is very possible. We
know,
do it all the
similarities?
time. We do it all the time. So, yeah. Good talk, babe.
Good talk.
All right.
Yeah.
Until we meet again. Deuces.